Hello. I was thinking, with all this distance learning, the little kids get stories read to them. And there's some fun stories out there. High school students in middle school, you can join too. Um, you guys deserve to hear some good stories. So I'm going to read a book a little at a time. And it could be like, bedtime story time. The book that I'm going to read is Marley Me. This was the only book I had in my house. So anyway, this is the book I'm going to read to you. It's based on a true story about a dog that was the worst dog in the world. It is a first-person narrative. That's the type of story it is. I'm going to read you the preface. Not an English teacher, so I don't really know the name of that word. About what the story is about, and I'm going to read a chapter at a time, probably 10 pages or so. And yeah, so this is the first part, and join me every day or so. I'll post a new section. This is called The Perfect Dog. In the summer of 1967, when I was 10 years old, my father caved in to my persistent pleas and took me to get my own dog. Together we drove in the family station wagon far into the Michigan countryside to a farm run by a rough-hewn woman and her ancient mother. The farm produced just one commodity: dogs. Dogs of every imaginable size and shape and age and temperament. They had only two things in common. Each was a mongrel of unknown and indistinct ancestry, and each was free to a good home. We were at a mutt ranch. Now take your time, son, Dad said. Your decision today is going to be with you for many years to come. I quickly decided the older dogs were somebody else's charity case. I immediately raced to the puppy cage. You want to pick one that's not timid, my father coached. Try rattling the cage and see which ones aren't afraid. I grabbed the chain link gate and yanked on it with a loud ching. The dozen or so puppies reeled backward, collapsing on top of one another in a squiggling heap of fur. Gotta take my glasses off my eyes. Just one remained. He was gold with a white blaze on his chest, and he charged the gate, yapping fearlessly. He jumped up and excitedly licked my fingers through the fencing. It was love at first sight. I brought him home in a cardboard box and named him Shaun, Shaun. He was one of those dogs that give dogs a good name. He effortlessly mastered every command I taught him and was naturally well behaved. I could drop a crust on the floor and he would not touch it until I gave the okay. He came when I called him and stayed when I told him to. We could let him out alone at night, knowing he would be back after making his rounds. Not that we often did, but we could leave him alone in the house for hours, confident he wouldn't have an accident, or disturb a thing. He raced cars without chasing them and walked beside me without a leash. He could dive into the bottom of our lake and emerge with rocks so big they sometimes got stuck in his jaws. He loved nothing more than riding in the car and would sit quietly in the back seat beside me on family road trips, content to spend hours gazing out the window at the passing world. Perhaps best of all, I trained him to pull me through the neighborhood dog sled style as I sat on my bicycle, making me the hands-down envy of my friends. Never once did he lead me into hazard. He was with me when I smoked my first cigarette and my last, and when I kissed my first girl. He was right there beside me in the front seat when I snuck out my old brother's Corvair for my first joyride. Shaun was spirited but controlled, affectionate but calm. He even had the dignified good manners to back himself modestly into the bushes before squatting to do his duty, only his head peering out. Thanks to this tidy habit, our lawn was safe for bare feet. Oh, I only have 29 seconds. Relatives would visit for the weekend and return home, determined to buy a dog of their own, so impressed they were with Shaun, or Saint Shaun, as I came to call him. I'm going to skip to the last paragraph of the preface. Saint Shaun of my childhood, he was a perfect dog, at least that's how I will always remember him. It was Shaun who set the standard by which I would judge all other dogs to come.